probably.
This is how you're gonna sit?
I don't know. I don't know how to sit good. Well. Good morning, guys. Hey, so sorry we've been a little MIA for the last few days. It's been a little crazy getting back into the schedule of things, figuring out how we're gonna work everything. But it's pretty awesome because we got this little tiny baby. So that's pretty cool. Today we just wanted to quickly talk about our story, as you saw in the title, of our pregnancy. And then...
Our pregnancy?
Yeah, our pregnancy when I was pregnant and carried a baby for 9 months. You don't remember? And so go through that, and then soon I'll put an edit together of the actual birth and stuff, so that'll be cool. We're just gonna do 2 separate videos. So quickly, an overview is our pregnancy was pretty straightforward. It was, okay, Julia's pregnancy was pretty straightforward. All the way up until, when was that, 30 weeks or something? When the heart thing? That's the 30 weeks,
like
right?
28 weeks.
At like 28 weeks, we went in for the glucose test, and her heart rate was super weird, and like she just had like, it would be like do. So it was just really weird. So like, hey, we want to send you in to a specialist to get that checked out. So we got it checked out. Everything came back perfectly fine. We think it was probably just because of the glucose, because Julia doesn't eat a lot of sugar anyway. So then all of a sudden the glucose test was just drinking pure sugar pretty much. So there's that, and then so that all went fine. And then at what, 32 or 34 weeks, she started measuring small?
No, 34 weeks.
No, 32 or 34? No, 34.
Oh, I was thinking 32. 34.
So at 34 weeks, we went into just our normal checkup, and Julia was measuring small. So then they sent us to get an actual ultrasound, make sure everything was okay, and everything looked perfect except for Lennon was measuring pretty small.
So we had the ultrasound at 35 and a half weeks, and she was measuring 32 to 33 weeks.
So a couple weeks slow. So then we just had our normal test. We also had a non-stress test at the same time, which came back perfect. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, also we should mention that she had been measuring a week behind, basically the entire pregnancy, up until about 32 weeks. And then her growth started to slow down. Mm-hmm. That's important.
So then 2 weeks later, we had an appointment, and she said, okay, I'm gonna send you in, just a normal doctor appointment. She's like, I'm gonna send you in to get an ultrasound, make sure you have all your bags packed and ready. This is at what, 37 weeks?
37 and a half. So we had the 35 and a half week ultrasound, and then we went to our follow-up midwife appointment, and she was still measuring, or I was still measuring around 32 weeks. And so they had me do another ultrasound at 37 and a half weeks.
And the doctor pretty much, or the midwife pretty much told us, pack your bags, odds are you're gonna go in and have that baby. If the baby's under the 10th percentile, then they send you in that day to get induced. That's pretty much how it works.
Yeah, and at 35 and a half weeks, she was in the 18th percentile,
So she was pretty small. So we go in 2 weeks later, we get all of our stuff ready. I had all my camera stuff ready. We had all the bags packed, we had everything ready. Go in there and have the ultrasound, and again, she's at the 18th percentile. So she still grew at a normal rate within those 2 weeks. She just started out smaller.
Yeah, she was just on her own growth curve.
Yeah.
So
then we get to our 39-week appointment, and we go in. Julia's still measuring small, so like we want to have you have a non-stress test again, so we go do that. She passes with flying colors, and honestly, everything, any test, any ultrasound, anything that we did, she passed with flying colors. Like the only thing that was weird is that she was smaller. Everything else was great. So we get to that 39 and a half week appointment, and it's more 39, like all along there hasn't been a half week, it was 1 day, because they were always Mondays. And then this one was even further, so this was closer to 39 and a half weeks.
Well,
than you have been the whole freaking time.
I was 39 weeks and 2 days, so it's not 39 and a half weeks.
Yeah, but the ones before were like 35 and 1 day.
No, they weren't.
They were on Monday.
No, they weren't. Those were the midwife appointments. Ultrasounds were later.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
See, you exaggerate. That's why.
I've never exaggerated before. Anyway, so we, see now, where am I now?
We went into the 39
and 2-day week.
Midwife, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
39 2-day appointment.
Wait, yes. Doesn't matter.
And she sent us into the non-stress test, which Lennon passed great. And then after that, they said, we also want you to go in for another ultrasound, the midwife said, after your non-stress test. So we're like, okay, let's go do that. We literally didn't pack anything, didn't get ready at all, because we were just like, yeah, she's just growing at her own curve. We're still gonna have her just normal, not getting induced. And we went in, and the doctor we were filming, I set up a time lapse. And so we caught it when the nurse came back, and she said, well, first she did the ultrasound, and then went and talked to the doctor and came back, and she said, all right, well, if you just want to leave here, go home, get your bags, and then head into the hospital. You're gonna have this baby today. We're like, what? Like, for some reason, we weren't expecting that at all. So Lennon was measuring about the 9th percentile, so pretty small. So then we were like, okay, luckily we already had a babysitter babysitting Indy at the time. So that was an easy fix. And then, so we came home and it was Bailey. We're like, hey Bailey, the doctor just told us that we're gonna get induced today. So can you just stay and hang out with Indy for a day or two? Luckily she's pretty rad and she was pretty down. And so then we came inside, packed our bags, and headed to the hospital. Why aren't you saying anything?
Because there's no gaps for me to say anything.
Sorry, I'm a talker.
Chatty, chatty, chatty.
All right, you take it up from there. So we headed to the hospital. See, this is why I talk, because you get all nervous.
No, I'm not nervous. So we headed to the hospital. It was like 4:30 or something. And it took a while for them to get us all checked in and everything. So probably about around 5 is when I actually got like dressed into my hospital gown. And my midwife came in and she checked me and stripped my membranes. Again, I had already had that done earlier that day and was already having contractions from it, but like nothing too intense. So then she checked me. I was at a 2 and about 80% effaced, right? A 2? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was at a 2 and I was 80% effaced. And then she stripped my membranes, and then that caused me to start having more contractions. So she said that she would come back in an hour or 2 and check me again. And in the meantime, they were gonna get the Pitocin and everything hooked up and started. But since she had stripped my membranes again and I was already having contractions, that made the contractions like closer together, and they started to get more intense. And because of that, they couldn't start the Pitocin because you can't give Pitocin, apparently, for some reason, unless a doctor overrides it if you're having 5 contractions in an hour, I think is what they said. So because of that, they didn't start the Pitocin because my body was already just contracting on its own. And then she came in about an hour later.
Which they don't know the time frame right now. So that's what I was just looking up in text messages, the time frame. At 4, what?
You're on the phone as I'm telling this?
Yeah, because I was trying to find the time frame. At about 4 is when we finished the ultrasound and left. So then we got our stuff packed up. We got to the hospital at about 4:45-ish. By the time we sat down and like had everything done, it was around 5.
Later, actually.
Well, by the time we were actually like going, they had her checked and everything. It was at 6.
Oh.
I wrote
So my labor was only like 5 hours then.
Yeah, so at 6, I wrote to the family, we're now in the hospital. Jules is dilated to a 2 and 80% effaced.
So I had a 5-hour labor.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So anyway,
and then at 6:45, they broke your water.
Okay, so it wasn't an hour quite yet. But, so okay, 45 minutes went by and I was having contractions and stuff. the midwife looked on like the monitor thing, and she came in because she thought that they had started me on Pitocin since I was having all these contractions. And so she came in to break my water, and then she did. And and still haven't started Pitocin at this point. When she broke my water, like my contractions were already pretty close together, so I don't think they got closer together after that.
Well, I have a text right here. So broke her water at 6:45. At 7:30, they've still not started Julia on Pitocin or anything. Julia's been having a lot of contractions every 1.5 to 2 minutes, lasting 30 to 45 seconds.
Yeah, so they were coming really close together, and they were getting more intense. So then, when did they check?
Then they checked her again at about 8 o'clock. She was still a 2 and 80% effaced.
So I wasn't making any progress at all, but the contractions were coming very frequently, and they were getting way more intense, and it was getting really discouraging because nothing was happening. So then they decided that they were going to start Pitocin to hopefully, the idea was that it would make my contractions more intense, which would hopefully cause me to dilate more, but then they would spread out a little bit more, so I'd have more of a break in between them. Because at this point, I wasn't really making any progress, and I wasn't really getting that much of a break for being only a 2.
Yeah, so at 8 o'clock, so right after they checked her, they're starting the Pitocin at a super low amount to try and get her contractions less frequent but stronger. She's having almost constant contractions now.
Yeah.
So that's literally when she had like maybe 10 or 15 seconds break in between, and then would go into contractions again, which were super heinous.
Once they started the Pitocin, the contractions got way more painful, and some of them I'd have like a cluster of like, I don't know, 3 or 5 contractions that would just go like back to back to back.
Like literally like no break. It was like, yeah, less than a 10-second break in between.
And then I'd get like one contraction where there was like a little break in between it. And it just kept doing that, and it was terrible.
So now we're up to 9:30, which around that time, probably around 9 o'clock, her contractions were just literally just constant, and she was in a crazy amount of pain. And they checked her, and she was only up to a 4. So she was pretty, I guess you can tell.
Well, yeah, so I was pretty bummed out at that point, because I had in my head, because with Indy's labor, I progressed so quickly. I was having like a lot of pain, and they were coming really close, but I progressed so quickly, so every time they checked me, like I was making progress. So in this case, it had already been hours, and I'd only dilated 2 centimeters, and I wasn't getting any rest or any breaks between contractions really, and I was dying. So, and I was even like, I don't know how I was actually doing, but I felt like I was doing a really good job breathing through them and like trying to stay like relaxed and calm, and even then I just couldn't. It was super discouraging basically. So I decided to get the epidural.
Which was actually really great. She almost immediately started feeling way more calm, way less stressful, which obviously in labor, staying calm and everything helps everything go way smoother. So at 9:35, I updated the family. I said, she's up to a 4, just got an epidural a few minutes ago, and she's feeling great.
Yeah, so the epidural was crazy because I loved it, but I also hated it because they gave me the dosage that he gave me. Well, it must have been too much for my body, but I just felt like I weighed 1,000 pounds, and like my legs were this big each. Like I felt, it was disgusting. It was a weird feeling, but it was awesome because I wasn't in any pain anymore. So it was probably around
10:30. The nurse was in our room kind of just checking things. So this is what, 4.5 hours after we went in there. The nurse was just checking everything, just making sure everything was good. And then all of a sudden, Lennon's heart rate just dropped and just got super slow. I didn't hear it, but Julia did. But the nurse was like, hey, Lance, will you press that red button? And I was like, oh, okay. So I pressed it. And almost immediately, like 5 nurses came rushing in. They're all getting her readjusted. Like
oxygen on me.
Yeah, like freaking out, and it's because Lennon's heart rate dropped way low all of a sudden. And
they had already been checking me a little bit closer because my blood pressure had been low all day, even at my appointment earlier in the day. So she'd been checking me closer because of that. So anyway, when she came in and her heart rate dropped way down, they put me on the oxygen.
Yeah, it's crazy. And she said that there's 2 reasons why the baby's heart rate will drop. 1 is because of blood pressure issues, and then 2 is because there's some kind of big change. You know, if she starts dilating more. So that was the first thing they checked while they were starting to check the blood pressure. They checked Julia to see if she dilated more, and she was still at a 4. And then a second nurse was like, well, that's weird, let me check. So she checked, and she's like the head nurse. Also was like only at a 4, she's 100% effaced.
2 nurses checked, only 1 nurse checked.
No, 2 did.
No, it was the same person though.
2 separate nurses checked.
Yeah, but she checked after. Like once they all left, she checked.
It wasn't our nurse. 2 nurses checked.
Oh, I don't remember that. Well, anyway, also it was super crappy because she went to go check me, and she said, I remember her saying, she's complete. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then our like nurse, the one that was, anyway, our nurse, she was like, oh, okay, that makes sense why the heart rate dropped. And I was like, yes, like this is awesome. And then she's like, no, I think you're at a 5. No, actually, you're at a 4. I was like, are you serious?
But because she was 100% effaced, the wall was just so thin that they couldn't check very easily.
Measuring, yeah.
So those 2 nurses checked. They ended up getting Lennon's blood or heart rate back to a normal rate. Julia was calmed down. Everything was showing perfectly fine again. So our nurse was like, hey, so I'm gonna go talk to the doctor. I'll let her know what just happened. I'll be back in just a couple minutes. So she left. We're just chatting like, what? That was freaking crazy. Like.
Oh yeah, and they also, when they came in, they turned the epidural down, which was nice because I started to be able to feel like I could move my legs at this point, but I still couldn't feel anything. So that was nice.
So then the nurse came back in at probably about 10:45. And she's the nurse that's like with us throughout the whole night. Her name's Christy, I believe. She's way rad. So she came back in and checked again, and she was like, I just want to check. I realized they checked already, but I just want to check because I've been checking you all night. Checked again, and she was like, oh, you're at like a 6.5 at least right now. That's a huge change. That explains everything. That's great. So we're like, awesome. So let's see it. So 6:48 or 10:48. So almost 4 hours or 5 hours after we came in. She's at a 6. She went through a big change, and the baby's heart rate dropped. So all the nurses came rushing in, and it was nuts for a minute, but she's back to normal now. They think that because Julia changed pretty rapidly. So then literally the next text I sent was at 11. So 12 minutes later, the nurse came back in and checked her again, and she was at a 10. So literally went from a 4 to a 10. Let's see, where was that 4 again? In about an hour and 20 minutes. Went from a 4 to a 10. So just grew like crazy. So the funny thing was though, the nurse came in and checked her and was like, okay, yeah, you're complete. Just kind of casually said it and just kept talking about other stuff. So we were like, wait, what? What do you mean by like complete what? She's like, oh, you're at a 10, you're ready to go. You're gonna have this baby. We're like, what? And we'd been talking to her, so our anniversary is on the 31st, and this has all happened on the 30th. And so we've been joking around like, what time do you think she'll come? I guessed between 4 and 5 a.m. The nurse guessed around 1:30 or 2, I think. And we were just like, yeah, she's gonna be born on our anniversary. It's just gonna happen because Julia, it was 10:30 and Julia was still at a 4. And so, so then she was like, yep, it's 11 o'clock. You're having this baby before your anniversary. Congratulations. So that was pretty funny. So we're like, okay. She's like, all right, well, I'll go grab the table and the doctor and stuff, and we'll be back in a few minutes and we'll push this baby out. I was like, what? So then I hurried and like set up all the cameras. I probably should have been more like, a little more supportive, but I was like, I gotta get all these set up.
That during the labor part where I hadn't had the epidural, and even when I got it, Lance was watching YouTube videos.
It's like, what else do I do?
The whole time.
I was just
Loudly watching YouTube videos while I'm in labor.
She could have watched YouTube videos too. There's nothing, like, there wasn't, I was just bored. I was just sitting, literally just sitting there.
He was just bored.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going through contractions, and they're, like, you didn't, I don't know.
I tried to get Lance all prepared. I was like, we need to watch these videos. You need to be a good birthing companion, blah, blah. And he wouldn't watch them.
I was a good birthing companion.
You didn't do anything to prepare for it, though.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I'm just naturally a good birthing companion. I've got that in my heart. Anyway, so the doctor comes in. The doctor comes in and she's like, all right, next contraction, let's start pushing. So I'm watching and I'm like, wait, is that the baby's head right there? Like, I swear even before Julia started pushing, I could see the baby's head right there.
It felt like her head was right there.
And I was like, wait, is that the baby's head? Because Julia like hadn't even started pushing yet. And she was like, oh yeah, that's the baby's head right there. And she touches it and I was like, what?
Also,
so
I should mention that when she checked me and I was at like a 6 or whatever, she said, okay, I'm gonna go, or she was just leaving the room and she said, okay, if you feel like a lot of pressure down there and you feel like you need to poop, let me know. And so she left, and pretty much right as she left, I started to feel a lot of pressure and started feeling like I had to poop. And she came back in just a couple minutes later. So when she came in, that's what I told her, and that's why she checked me again and found out that I was at a 10.
Yeah, because you were about to have that baby without anybody even in there.
Yeah, it was like I started feeling like I had, like there was pressure. I could feel her head was like right there, and I needed to poop, which I was really glad about, because part of the reason why I didn't want an epidural is because I wanted to be able to feel that. I wanted to be able to feel like when the baby was ready to come out, what that felt like, and so I knew how to push and do all that stuff. And so it was awesome because I didn't have to be in any pain, but I still got to feel that, and I still could feel the urge to push, and so yeah.
So then we're sitting there, and the doctor's like, all right, next contraction, let's have you push and let's see whatever. So Julia gets the next contraction, she starts pushing, and literally the baby's head is like right on the edge of coming out. And then she's like,
oh, it came out the second push?
Third push.
No, are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
No, because her body came out on the third push.
Fourth push.
Oh, there was 4 pushes.
Mm-hmm. So then second push, same thing, right on the edge, and I was like, what? Like, she's gonna get this in like 2 pushes. I literally thought that it was gonna be like 2 pushes. But then the contraction stopped. So they're like, all right, next contraction, let's just breathe for a sec while you're out of the contraction. And then pretty soon. They
said this, so the contraction ended and they kind of started chatting and stuff. And I could feel like the contraction coming back on and like the urge to push. So I started pushing before she even told me to put. Well, yeah, because I could feel it. So I was like, I know I need to push, even though they're not telling me. I didn't need them to tell me because I could feel it. So I started pushing, and then she's like, oh, okay, like push, it's time to push, and I was already pushing, but.
And so then literally during that third push, Lennon's head pops out, and I was like, what? And then she's like, all right, let's do another push, boom, Lennon's out. Literally, like, it's really cool. I can't wait to show you guys the shot where, so I got the shot from like behind Julia, so you can't see all the gross stuff. And she just pulls out Lennon, sets her on Julia's chest. Like, so cool. Yeah. And yeah, so literally 4 pushes, baby was out.
Yeah, and someone asked me, did I get all emotional and stuff? And I didn't, only because it happened so fast that I think I was just like kind of shocked, because with India it took an hour to push her out, and I was like exhausted by the end of it. But this time I was like, she came out and I was feeling great and had all this energy, and like they cleaned her up and we did skin to skin, and we had like, I think that was about 2 hours from when she came out to when I needed to like get up and stuff, or at least move rooms. So after like those 2 hours, I was up walking around feeling great, like literally, yeah, not in any pain down there, and didn't tear or anything. It was awesome.
So in my phone I wrote, she's a 10 right at 11. So that was before she started pushing, before anything, and before the doctor was in there. Then at 11:27, I have a picture of Lennon all cleaned up on the actual board, like.
Yeah, so she was born at 11:10 p.m. So from me being 10 centimeters to getting everything ready and her coming out took about 10 minutes, and then yeah,
So pushing was like literally like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was.
Which is nuts.
Like 2 minutes. But it was a crazy experience, and it was awesome, and I felt so good afterwards. And the nurses kept coming in and checking on me, you know, because they just do that a lot, and asking, "How's your pain level? If you had to rate it from a 0 to a 10, what would you say?" And it was 0 every time. Like even now, I feel great. So it was awesome.
So what were the 2 things that she was officially diagnosed with?
She was diagnosed with Iugr, which is intrauterine growth restriction. So the placenta basically just stops doing what it needs to do, and the baby doesn't grow how she's supposed to grow. And then the other was SGA, small for gestational age, which obviously goes with Iugr. But yeah. So.
But the nice thing is the scary thing, when we heard that she was small, whatever, we read all these things online, it was all scary. Hopefully this video will show people with small babies and stuff that sometimes babies are just small. Our babies both have been pretty small. Lennon especially is really tiny, but super healthy, latched immediately. Feeding has gone relatively great. I mean, it's obviously a learning curve with every baby, but it's going really well.
Also, I don't think we said, but she was born at 5 pounds, 15 ounces, and was 18 inches long.
Yeah.
So, and they had predicted at the ultrasound earlier that day that she was going to be 6 pounds, 2 ounces. So they were pretty spot on with that. And so she's really small, but she's so cute.
Yeah. So anyway, overall, super happy to have her. So blessed that she's healthy and great. Indy just loves her. If you see our Instagram, it's at Easy Vegans. And we have some pictures on there of Indy just loving on her. We're still, there's obviously that adjustment period of trying to juggle the 2 children and give them both equal amount of attention, but so far it's been pretty great, so. You have anything else to say?
No.
All right. Well, thanks so much for watching. We make daily vlogs, so we're a vegan family. So we make vlogs about our lifestyle, and that being vegan's not that weird. It's kind of the whole point of it. You could call it our tagline, something like that. And yeah, so we'd love it if you subscribed and join this journey with us. Watch Lennon grow and watch Indy grow and have a great time. So anyway, and then and we make these videos every single day. So we film throughout the day, and then I edit at night, and then we post the next day at 8 a.m. So that's kind of our schedule. We've been a little off the last few days, so I've just posted a couple YouTube live videos, but we should be golden now. Should be from here on out, continue to do them daily. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
We should get our thumbnail. Ready?